And women who have lumpectomies with radiation lose a lot of sensitivity in their nipples, and so it does majorly impact their sexual well-being. So about 3 years ago, we set up a little program at one of the Chevron gas stations, and we would screen men and women coming in for free for prostate and breast cancer. So the guys would come in, they're getting their filling up their gas tanks, we're drawing their blood looking for prostate cancer. And the women, we gave them mammogram slips. And out of about 200 couples that we screened in one day, we found 21 males with prostate cancer and 20 females with breast cancer. So this is a program I'm trying to revive now because, as I say, couples are aging. And when I see new patients in my office who are age appropriate and they're with their husbands, the females after the consultation leave not only with their plan, but the males leave with a lab slip to go to the lab and get a PSA now. So we're trying to promote this as a cause that they can work together on and go through the process together. Because these couples have lived together for a long time, they love each other, and we want them to keep loving each other for as long as possible. And these diseases are very preventable if caught early. I was born in Budapest, Hungary. I came here in 1957. We escaped, and the communists invaded Budapest, where I was born, and they pretty much destroyed the whole city. And I lived in a bomb shelter for about a year before we were able to escape. And I went back to Hungary to actually find that bomb shelter. There was about 12 of us living in this small space for almost a year. This is a picture of between Hungary and Austria, the frozen lands where we ran across to freedom. And the very first time I went back to Hungary was in 1998. That very week was when the Iron Curtain came down. I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but let me try and explain. On September 11th, the United States was attacked. It was the second country, my second homeland, that was attacked. And I was raised Catholic in Hungary, and if you're a Catholic under a communist regime, there's no way you're going to med school, there's no way you're going into professional school. It's just not going to happen. And so my dad had the courage to escape. My parents gave up their wedding rings to get a guide to get us out of there. My dad was a physicist, he had a PhD in physics, and when he got to the United States, he totally lost. It was a foreign degree. He had a foreign accent, so he could never get a real decent job. He had relatives behind the Iron Curtain, so he couldn't get a secret clearance, etc., etc. So he had a very, very difficult life, but his difficult life translated into making myself and my older brothers to have the opportunity to become a career that was extremely fruitful. And when that attack came, the stamp was issued. This is the second fundraising stamp ever issued. This raised about $15 million for survivors of the 9/11 tragedy. Had it not been for the breast cancer stamp, this stamp would have never been issued because it would have set the precedent already through the breast cancer stamp. And so, in a very small way, through this tragedy and through the issuance of the stamp, I felt like I was given the opportunity to give back to the United States, which has done so much for my family and myself. So now we're off to some new ventures. We started a project about a year and a half ago called The Global Journey. And it's very simple. The idea is to introduce stamps in other countries and let them benefit from what we're doing. So I've been to Australia with Olivia and John and working on a stamp there. The second stamp that was issued, this is the health minister of Hungary, my home country, and I'm very proud to say that they were the second country to introduce the stamp. I have the rights to the United States Postal Service to give the image of the stamp to any country that's not hostile to the United States. And they can use the image and then they change it into their own language. Melrock is Hungarian for breast cancer, and we unveiled that in Budapest over the Danube. And this is the chain bridge, Lions Bridge, it's called, in Budapest. And GE, the night we unveiled the stamp in Hungary, lit that whole bridge up and take it as a spectacular sight. So this is the actual Hungarian stamp. that's been issued, and then we also have one now in Belize and several other countries. One important point that I want to make for you is that any country that issues the stamp keeps the money in that country. Third world countries that do not have a research infrastructure take the money and use it for education, outreach, and treatment. But every single penny stays in that country. So we also have stamps in Grenada, Gambia, Micronesia. I've got Romania coming out with a stamp, and many, many other countries. And this one I'm extremely proud of. This came out of Kenya. It took about a year and a half to get this done, and I love what they did with this picture. They took the original Diana Artemis and they Africanized her, they braided her hair, they put African jewelry on her. And the thing that's so important about this is that it really adds to the credibility of my message, which is that breast cancer knows no global boundaries. It's a disease that affects women of all colors and people of all countries. And so I just absolutely love this thing. Next week I'm off to Kosovo, and this is a Kosovo stamp that's going to be unveiled there. You can't quite read that, but it's an interesting stamp because in Kosovo we have another ethnic issue, which is Albanians versus Serbians. And I don't know, many of you are probably too young to get back into all the conflict that went there and the genocide and so on, but to be politically correct in Kosovo, you have to have the language in Serbian, Albanian, and English, of course. This is another first. This is the first stamp ever issued in the world that's actually issued in 3 different languages. And when I'm in Kosovo, I'm going to hop up to Serbia versus Princess Catherine is also going to be issuing a stamp, and then Macedonia and Albania are also coming out with stamps as well. Some of the other countries that I visited have also adopted the concept that we're taking on. In Italy, they have a 30 cent stamp to goes to research. They did not choose to use our symbol, which is okay, but at least they're trying. They actually issued 2 different stamps for that. This is based on one of the queens that passed away from breast cancer. France has done some stuff, and so I'm working in the European Union as a whole. I'm including Austria, Ireland, England, and Slovenia, plus a number of other countries that are listed on this. So we're working in the European Union together. Then through my travels, I ran into a company called IGPC, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's the Intergovernmental Philatelic Corporation based out of New York, and what they do is they actually print the stamps for 86 countries around the world. And I've teamed up with them, and they're helping me move stamps into all these countries. And so we've got a lot of work ahead of us to do, and my real dream is to blanket the world in breast cancer stamps. And my real dream is that one of the research studies that is funded by the breast cancer stamp money finds that little piece of information that I talked about earlier that we need to find a cure for breast cancer. And that is my real dream. I will now leave you with my favorite quote, which is, "You can't rely on your eyes if your imagination is out of focus." I want to thank you very much for having me here this morning.